Hi, everybody. My name is Christopher. I'm an alcoholic. I'm currently in Los Angeles, South Bay area specifically. Let's see. I have a sobriety date of March 25th, 2013. I have a sponsor who knows he's my sponsor. I talk to him at least once a week. I hang out with him. I hang out with his sponsor. I make myself available to sponsor other men. And I have multiple service commitments on various service committees, the NorCal Bid, Freaky Paw, Cruisy Paw. Shout out to my friends that showed up. I see you guys. And I'm also doing some work with the AccuPaw Host Committee. I do intergroup work for central office in Santa Cruz. I mention all these things not to shine a light on me and look at all these things I do. But I really, really believe those things I talked about are why I've been able to stay sober this long, and especially all of the service work. And hopefully I can get to that tonight because I really want to talk about how that really has impacted me this last year of my sobriety and made a really big difference. So I don't want to drunk-a-log too much, but I would like to at least talk about why I qualify as being an alcoholic. The thing about my story is it's weird to qualify somebody's bottom as being high or being low. Your bottom is when you stop digging, right? I don't want to confuse my bottom with the circumstances surrounding my bottom. I did go to jail once because I got a DUI. I got one DUI. Not everybody gets DUIs, right? I got kicked out of the apartment I was living in a few months before I got sober, but I was never homeless. That may not be the case for everyone. But what happened is I got to the jumping off point. I got to that place in my life where I could no longer live with alcohol, but I also could not live without alcohol. And that manifests from the threefold disease of alcoholism, those three parts, the mental obsession, that lie. I tell myself, when I wake up that I'm not going to drink today. And that thought transforms into, well, maybe it's okay to just pick up the 1 pint of Potter's vodka when I get off of work, right? And then I get the pint, right? And then I finish it before I even get home, and I have to get another pint. Then that leads into, the bodily part of the disease where I don't know what's going to happen at that point. I don't know how many pints it's going to be. I don't know if I'm going to black out or go to sleep on my own accord. I don't know if I'm going to make it to work the next day. I physically cannot stop, and I don't know what's going to happen, right? What happened was, I didn't know before I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I didn't understand that that's what it meant to be an alcoholic. So I didn't think I was an alcoholic because of those things I talked about. The circumstances surrounding my bottom, I didn't lose a job, though I got really, really close. I was never homeless, though, I was getting kicked out of the places that I was living. My family, most of them stopped talking to me, and the only one that would still answer my phone calls was my dad, who is a textbook codependent enabling Al-Anon, right? But however, I framed it as well, I'm not an alcoholic, so I don't need Alcoholics Anonymous, because I became quite a frequent visitor at mental hospitals and institutions, thinking that there was something else wrong with me, that a doctor could prescribe me a pill to fix the way I felt, and therefore I wouldn't have to drink the way I drank anymore, or I could moderate or control my drinking, right? And that never really worked. And when I did go to these psych hospitals, they always shoved me into the room when the H&I panels came, and then they told me I needed to go to AA meetings and everything. And I grew up in a family that was my family is not atheist or even agnostic, but they definitely were against organized religion. They did not, my dad is not organized religion. My mom was raised Catholic, but did not make us go to church or anything like that. So I never developed a concept God, or God to me was the God of church that I was taught was not for me, right? So anyways, I was very adverse to participating in a 12-step program, and primarily because of the word God. However, back to what I said, that thing happened to me where I was in an outpatient program 3.5 months, and I wasn't staying sober because I refused to go to 12-step meetings. I went to a couple and could only find the differences, wasn't ready, and that's okay. Those yets had to happen. I had to get that DUI. I had to crash my car again. I had to get kicked out of that place that I was living. I had to be talked to by my boss again about why I smell like alcohol in front of my client. And I remember I was out of work while I was in that outpatient program, and I went back to work. I learned all these things in treatment. I learned about the disease of addiction and how it works in my brain. They taught me coping mechanisms. They taught me relapse prevention. All these things that I had learned, I thought I was well equipped enough to go back to work and not have to drink anymore, that I could be okay. And I lasted 8 days at work before I picked up that drink again. It just happened all over again. And thing was, like, exactly what had been happening, exactly my experience from the past decade of what happened when I picked up the drink happened again. There was no prior knowledge of even my own experience that could stop me from picking up that drink. And there was not enough knowledge in the world to stop me, even from what I learned in treatment. And that's not to say bad about like what treatment can do, because I don't think I would have gotten sober without a residential treatment program. That last time I got loaded and I couldn't make it back to work, and I called that one person who would still pick up the phone for me, which was my father. And I said, hey, I need you to pick me up and take me back to the psych hospital, and I need to detox, and I need to go in to like an actual 30-day program. But the difference is I had this moment. Some will call it the gift of desperation. Some will call it a moment of clarity. But I had this moment that I saw, like, if I continued on the way that I was going to drink myself to death. I was 10 hours removed from my last drink, and I walked into detox, and I still had a 0.35 blood alcohol content. And because that's the way I drink. And I'm the kind of person that will like drink myself to death, if not crash my car in a blackout and kill myself or somebody else. And I didn't want to die a drunk. And I knew that much. And I didn't know how to do it. But I did also know that the only thing I hadn't really tried was Alcoholics Anonymous. I also knew that if I didn't go to like a residential treatment program, there was no way I was going to get myself to an AA meeting and take it seriously. I detoxed for 7 days, and then I got into this treatment center. They threw us all, there were, I think, 12 beds in this treatment center, and I think 11 of them were full at the time. They threw all 11 of us in the white druggy buggy, and they drove us a little bit down the freeway to the Monday Night Young People speaker meeting in Pasadena, California. And I don't remember a thing that anybody said at that meeting that was of any consequence to my sobriety, except for the one guy who stood up and made the literature announcement. And he stood up and he's like, "Yeah, my name's Ricky W. and I'm an alcoholic." And see, the thing is Ricky W., 10 years prior to that moment, me and Ricky W. were drinking bottles of Southern Comfort in my truck in alleyways, like in Hollywood, like before going out and partying, right? This guy, me and him used to party, and we used to party really hard. And I knew he had gotten sober, but I hadn't really talked to him. In that moment, I didn't recognize that this was a God shot in that moment. But looking back, I realized it was enough to give me the comfort of knowing that I was in the right place at the right time. And we talked after the meeting, and it turns out he knew the program director at the treatment center I was at, and he would like come visit me on the weekends when we could have visitors, and he would take me out and we would just, talk about what was going on. And I didn't realize he was doing exactly what we do here in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Anyways, so the thing I did different this time, or that time, is I did everything that they told me in treatment, which included going to meetings and getting a sponsor and doing the stuff. I met a guy at these meetings they would take us to. And I asked him to sponsor me, and he asked me, "Are you willing to go to any lengths to stay sober?" And I said, yes. And then he gave me 3 conditions of sponsorship, which were to get 3 service commitments and always keep 3 service commitments, to call him every day for 30 days in a row. After the 30 days, I didn't have to call him anymore, but it still took me like 3 months to do that. And then when I was done reading the book and going through the steps with him, that I was to make myself available to sponsorship. And now looking back on that, I realized what he was doing was encouraging the practice of all 3 sides of all 3 legacies of our program, right? The unity, the service, and the recovery. Encouraging me to connect with an alcoholic one-on-one every day, which was him. Encouraging me to be of service. And then also encouraging me to work my steps and to continue to work my steps through actually one-on-one sponsorship with other men. And I'm really grateful for the direction I got from my sponsor. And I'm really grateful I was in a position where I was willing to do whatever was asked of me at that time. And, my early sobriety was really not that bad because I followed the few simple things that were asked. And so my sponsor, he would always say, we would do these backyard meetings at his house twice a month, every other Saturday. And it's big family meeting. And he always says, man, when you're new, you got to get really busy in Alcoholics Anonymous. And that was the thing I did, and I've had a wonderful sobriety is a result of it. And I've experienced a lot of the things that they promised, primarily the happiness, the joy, and the freedom that comes along with doing the steps. I only got a little bit of time and I wanted to talk about, you'll hear anyone that's got a little bit of time say this. There's a lot of wonderful things. There's so much that I didn't expect out of sobriety. It's more than I ever imagined it could be. But there are still times where, I get to feel today, and sometimes those feelings are really, really uncomfortable. But I'm also blessed with a tool set to deal with them. So I got sober in Southern California, in Covina. If anyone knows Covina, shout out, sobriety capital of the world. And then I went up to Santa Cruz to go to school. I moved up there about a year ago, and it was the first time I really had moved away from home. I also grew up in that town I got sober in, here in the LA area. And when I moved to Santa Cruz, those first 2 or 3 months, if you talked to me, I would have been like, yo, Santa Cruz is whack. I don't like the vibe here. The people are weird. The meetings are okay. I was going to 2 meetings a week. Both of them, I had a commitment. I was just a greeter. So I would meet people. The point I wanted to get to is even at 9 years sober, the things that work for me are the exact same things that worked for me at 9 days sober, at 9 weeks sober, at 9 months sober. And that is getting really, really busy in Alcoholics Anonymous. I came back down for Christmas break and hung out with my family and friends. And then I went back up there. I immediately took a position in Santa Cruz County Intergroup, where we help run the stuff that goes on at central office there, which serves many alcoholics in that area. And then I started joining a bunch of different YPOC committees, including Santa Cruz Young People in AA. I got involved with the NorCal Bid for ICYPA, and I've been doing outreach for a lot of outreach right now. That's really cool. And what happened is my level of discomfort turned out to be inversely proportional to the level of service I was doing in Alcoholics Anonymous. And the more service I did, the less uncomfortable I became. I'm back down in LA for 3 months for the summer. At first, I would have been so happy back when I first moved to Santa Cruz to be able to go back to LA, right? But it's so much different now. I really, really miss Santa Cruz, and I've made some awesome, amazing friends there, and I have family in sobriety there now. That is a result of me doing the service. When I think about aligning my will with God's will, it always comes, where am I being of service and how am I packing more into the stream of life? Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight.